Welcome to the GTV Caribbean News. I'm Sean Rose. President of the Caribbean Development Bank, Dr. Warren Smith, says he is guardedly optimistic about the economic prospect for the region in 2016. The CDB president presented the bank's 2016 outlook on February 24.
Officials of the Caribbean Development Bank are pegging their optimism for regional economic growth on efficient collection of taxes by governments, private sector growth, and human capital investment. President Dr. Warren Smith delivered the bank's 2016 economic outlook on Wednesday. He spoke of the menu of actions which need to be taken to manage Caribbean economies. He also confirmed that in the last fiscal year, the CDB spent $292 million assisting borrowing member countries to build resilience to the myriad of threats they face. Dr. Smith says the bank expects 13 of its 19 member countries to grow faster in 2016 than they did in 2015.
All of the services-dependent economies should grow, even if only marginally. This, as you would appreciate, is somewhat of a rebound from earlier years after the Great Recession. The two borrowing member countries whose economies are expected to contract are heavily commodity dependent and also represent a reversal of a trend which had emerged a few years ago. So, ladies and gentlemen, one could conclude that Caribbean economies are in something of a recovery mode.
The CDB president says the bank continues to encourage countries to expand their renewable energy capacity.
The Sustainable Energy Facility, or SEF, CDB loves acronyms, for the Eastern Caribbean is a $72 million loan and grant package funded by the Inter-American Development Bank and the Caribbean Development Bank, which will benefit 6 member countries of the OECS, namely Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Both programs will allow CDB to employ innovative financing to advance sustainable energy solutions in these beneficiary countries.
Dr. Smith spoke of the ever-present threats to economic and social infrastructure posed by natural hazards and climate change. Other economic threats to the region include the correspondent bank de-risking crisis, which poses serious challenges for the movement of money into and out of Caribbean economies.
A Trinidad and Tobago mayor who sparked outrage at home and abroad for comments he made about women's behavior at Carnival following the death of a Japanese woman who traveled to Trinidad to play mass appears to be buckling under the pressure of the widespread criticism and calls for him to go. In a statement to the media this week, Mayor of Port of Spain, Raymond Timke, says he plans to quit.
My comment is provoked by what I heard of the news this morning. And you know, before Carnival, I did make a comment about vulgarity and lewdness in conduct. And you know, some question was asked by one of the smart media people when I spoke of some of the things that I see women do, assisted by men, of course. But the woman has the responsibility to ensure that they are not abused. I call it abuse that way. And my argument was, you could enjoy Carnival without going through that routine. Okay, our Carnival doesn't need that, and I could well imagine what would be said by the country from which she came about one of their people came here to participate in our Carnival and is now dead. Okay, not an accident from no vehicle, no truck and bunks anybody. It's a matter of. But I think she was still in her costumes, I think. I think that's what I heard. So you could let the imagination roll. My comment is that is rather embarrassing for us in the city. It is embarrassing for Carnival, I think. And I feel that much more advisories should go out to the public, especially people who are coming here and who don't really understand a lot of the culture.
U.S. President Barack Obama has confirmed he will visit Cuba in March this year as part of a broader trip to Latin America. U.S. Republicans have criticized the visit, saying it should not take place while the Castro family is in power. But how has news of the first visit by a sitting U.S. president since 1928 gone down among ordinary Cubans? From Old Havana, the BBC's Will Grant has this report.
U.S. President Barack Obama will be welcomed by the government of Cuba and the Cuban people with our traditional hospitality. It will be an opportunity for President Obama to appreciate the Cuban reality and to exchange on possibilities to expand bilateral dialogue and cooperation between the two countries.
The mere idea that a sitting US president would come to Cuba would have been unthinkable for most Cubans just a handful of years ago. So the fact that President Obama will be here by the 21st of March is a sign of just how far the two sides have come in a relatively short amount of time. Now, there are people in the United States who oppose this visit on human rights grounds, not least of them the Republican presidential candidates Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. President Obama has said he wants to sit down with dissidents on the island. Most ordinary Cubans, though, aren't dissidents, and it's quite likely that the president will come to these streets. This is Old Havana, where John Kerry came when he came to Cuba to reopen the embassy in August. Well, we've been around the streets of Old Havana to try and catch up with people and find out what they make of the imminent Obama visit.
Esperábamos algo como eso, creo que es el paso ya último para terminar con lo que sería el bloqueo. Ya solamente quedaría eso, ya con la visita de Obama solo restaría quitar el bloqueo.
Muy bueno, ¿no?, a las relaciones de Cuba con los Estados Unidos. Ya creo que es hora de ir desgarriando esas vías raíces que tienen aquellos anticomunistas y se cambie la historia y se ve la realidad del pueblo cubano.
Qué impresión, que a mí me encantaría que las relaciones entre Cuba y Estados Unidos se reforzaran, a ver si en definitiva todo el mundo quiere eso.
Espero que sea beneficiosa para el pueblo cubano y para el pueblo norteamericano, porque bueno, los dos pueblos necesitan unirse y tener buenas relaciones, tanto culturales como de todo tipo, tanto para los Estados Unidos como para Cuba.
In a sense, it's hard to know exactly what President Obama expects to find in Cuba, given that the nation's image in the United States is based on decades of Cold War hostility rather than any 21st century reality. I think he'll be pushing the various areas that he's interested in here: private enterprise, private business, internet access, young people. Of course, tourism is already driving the relationship forward all the time, with scores of visitors from the United States coming to the island every month. And this is his last opportunity to cement this thaw in what is his last year in office.
Over in Bridgetown, Barbados, Barbados is on a winning streak, having been voted Caribbean Best Destination 2016 in recognition of outstanding performance and partnership by Expedia, the largest retailer of travel products in the entire Caribbean. The award, which was presented before an audience of regional and international industry executives during the recently concluded Caribbean Travel Marketplace in the Bahamas, marked the 7th international award Barbados has received in the past 12 months. For the JTV Caribbean News, I am Sean Rose.
And coming up next on JTV News, clinical psychologist Dr. Michael Turnbull says human behavior and mental wellness topics should be integrated into everyday conversations. Ricardo Drew Blacks with Roy Cape and the All-Stars are set to open the Virgin Gorda Easter Festival. And students get a chance to interact with legendary Ladysmith Black Mambazo.